Hey there, I'm Tim,
I'm Keegan.
and you're listening to That Reminds Me, where we talk about anything that happens to come up. Today we're talking about advice, both good and bad.
Hey, Tim, your microphone's drooping a little. I think you should probably move it a bit closer.
Will you shut? That's an example of bad advice right there.
Sound quality.
Fuck your sound quality.
Fine, you're editing this episode then.
Yeah, so what?
All right, then give me an example of good advice.
Well, you want good advice about anything or something specific?
Sure, give me anything. Show me how easy it is.
Well, a lot of people say good advice is just be yourself. Don't let anything get to you.
Don't be yourself or don't be yourself.
Don't do what you're doing right now and instead be yourself.
Are you claiming that I'm not being myself?
No, you're being yourself. Just yourself is an ass.
So I shouldn't be myself if I am an ass.
In most situations, yes, but also no.
So is it good or bad advice?
Yes.
That's not an answer, and I have won. You can't just give good advice, and I'm not trying to give good advice.
I could give good advice if I tried.
All right, try. Give me good advice for going to school. Let's give you a topic, see if you can do that.
All right. Make sure you get to bed at a decent time before the night before, and then when you wake up in the morning, or so that when you wake up in the morning, you have enough time to say brush your teeth, get all your homework into your backpack, eat breakfast. Make sure you have enough time to get everything done before you have to worry about school.
Counterpoint, here's my advice don't go to bed. If you don't go to bed, you can't miss your class because you're already awake. No
See,
alarm to sleep through.
counterpoint to that, not everyone has insomnia, so they can't just live off of not sleeping for 36 hours.
I didn't say you didn't have to sleep, just sleep when you get home.
Yeah, but that still comes to the point of you haven't slept for 36 hours. I mean, I guess not, because the previous school day you go to sleep when you get home, and then you wake up at like midnight, and then you stay up
Exactly.
through the school day, and then go to bed again.
It's very hard to sleep through the day if getting to 6 a.m. when you would usually wake up would be like 16 hours of sleep.
The issue there, though, is usually going through grade school, your family wants to spend time with you. They're not going to be doing that from midnight to 6 a.m., but they would do that from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Well, maybe my grade school family needs to tough shit.
Yeah, great.
Hey, my advice is great.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
I can give good advice.
All right, then do so. Give me good advice for a job interview.
Okay, so for a job interview, you want to make sure that you look your interviewer in the eye and you answer every question to the best of your ability. That stuff's obvious. Another thing that you want to make sure of is if you are naturally very ugly, don't put a lot of care into your appearance, but put a professional level into your appearance. Because if you're naturally gifted in looks, you're going to build up your looks. You're going to spend 4 hours in the mirror to try and sell it off of your looks. If you're naturally not good looking and you try actively to make yourself look better looking, you're going to spend less time doing the actual stuff that works for the interview, like the preparing and the mental mantras to make sure that you're calm. So spend little time on your appearance, enough in where you look professional. Don't go in a tattered cloak and sit there and pick your nose the whole time. But at the same time, don't stare at the mirror for so long that you have your own image burned into your retinas.
All right, I'll give you that your physical image for an interview is very important. Where if you are ugly, then you just make yourself look professional so it at least looks like you care about what you're doing. Whereas if you're more gifted in looks, you already don't have to spend much time making yourself look good. So if you look good and then you make yourself look better, it'll make it seem like, oh yeah, they naturally look this good. They didn't spend a lot of time on this, so they've been spending more time on actually preparing for the interview with actual substance. Even though you could have spent all your time making yourself look even better than you already do. But because you look good to begin with, it makes it more of a makes it seem more like you didn't spend much time on your appearance, which
See?
I'll give you. But, counterpoint to what you said about answering every question, there are a lot of questions that interviewers ask just for the sake of getting some sort of reaction. So if you, instead of answering, say they ask you, what's your salary range? If you answer, well, I'd like to have around 35 to 45K, you instead say, well, my services go as low as 45, but just something along that lines, rather than presenting it as, this is what I'm looking for, say, you are getting me for this much. So that it not only hypes you up more and gives you more of a standing, but it also makes it seem like you are more professional.
I'm still going to count this as a win for me. Have you ever had bad advice?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Advice so bad that it actually damaged your entire life?
Once or twice, yeah.
Cool. I don't care about that. Give me some good advice that you've heard. Spread the joy of good advice.
Well, other than what I said before about just be yourself, I should have specified be yourself in social situations rather than at a job interview, because you have to present yourself professionally for that. If you're at a party, just be yourself. If people don't like you for you, then you're in the wrong crowd. But along that similar vein, your value is appreciated by the right people. An example, a father gives a father gives his daughter a really old car, like a 42 Camaro. I don't know. That's a bad example because that's actually like a sports car, but
Is it?
I don't know. It's a popular car, as far as I know. Just an old junker car that's like a relic, basically. And the father tells the daughter to take it to the auto mechanic to see how much they would buy it for. Daughter does it, comes back, says, oh, they said $500 because it's a really old car and it's in bad shape. Then they said, okay, he says, take it to the scrapyard and see how much they would give you for it. And she comes back and says, they'd only give $250 because most of the parts are out of commission these days. Father says, all right, now go take it to this special old car sales lot, like antique place. She takes it there, comes back, says, yeah, they said they'd give me $125,000 for it because it's a really like antique relic and it's really classic. So your value is given to you by those who will actually appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. Is this like a roundabout way of you telling me that I'm not appreciated?
No. Why would I be here with you if I didn't appreciate you?
I don't know. The people don't know what happens when these mics turn off. When the mics turn off, the fists start flying. We are at odds.
Yes, this definitely happens.
Well, they will never know.
They will when the outtakes come out.
Well, they're not going to know when the outtakes come out because the outtakes aren't coming out.
Not yet.
I once had someone tell me that I needed to get my head out of my ass, which I never thought was very good advice, and I still don't.
I mean, if you take it literally, then yeah, obviously, it's not physically possible to do that. But if you take it in the sense of...
It's not physically possible because my head is firmly wedged up my ass. You cannot remove it.
If you take it in the metaphorical sense, where it's make your mind not have shit clouding it, then depending on the exact circumstance, it can be good or bad.
I don't believe you. Nor do I believe the loser who told me that.
I mean, think about it. If you are, for example, at a job interview, would you want your thoughts to be clouded by shit nonsense rather than actual important stuff?
Well, if I'm at a job interview and there's shit in my head, that's probably my personality, and a good buddy once told me to always be myself.
I did say, unless you're at a job interview.
You said in social situations.
A job interview is not a social situation.
I'm in public. That's social.
That's not public. You're one-on-one with someone.
That's basically public.
It's not. It's really not. If you're going by that, then we are in public right now.
Sure are.
We're really not.
Well, no one's looking at us, but we're definitely in public. We're not in the middle of the New York metro, but we're in public.
So if we were in this exact situation, but we were in our room instead.
I mean, that's private enough, I guess.
All right, then. So the fact that this is a studio with no one else around, that's just as private.
No, it's away from our house.
We're in a public building, yes, but we are still secluded. It's like therapy offices. It's a public building, but once you're in the therapy room, it's private and secluded.
Don't talk to me about therapy offices. I'm trying to forget.
I'll therapy you.
That doesn't mean anything.
Damn right it doesn't.
Is it supposed to be good advice that you'll therapy me?
Yep.
I consider it bad advice. You ever get bad advice? I suddenly care now.
Oh, do you now? That's interesting. Wonder what could have brought that upon it. Well, some bad advice I've gotten is try hard in school. And you may be thinking, how the hell is that bad advice? School is important. Yes, school is important. Specifically, learning is important. The issue with school is it's not about learning these days. It's about grades. So you have short-term memorization to get the grades, and then you don't remember anything you learned because it's short-term. If you learn it, it'll be long-term, so you actually have that knowledge and retain it in the future. And there are students out there who will take the time to actually learn the topics and substance so that they have that knowledge. And yes, it is very possible for any student, more or less, to just do that. But because we are growing children, like in early elementary school, for example, not like kindergarten, because that's just coloring. It's not really grades, but third grade, for example. You're more or less graded around third grade. At that point, you're still very young, very impressionable. So if you grow up from there learning that grades are important, for the most part, you're going to prioritize getting your grades rather than learning. And there are those who will break out of that and learn rather than prioritizing the grades. And through learning, they will still get the good grades. But because grades are so prioritized, it's difficult to say that you can just learn, since young minds are impressionable, and if they learn, if they hear, grades are what you need to prioritize, then they will do that. 9 times out of 10.
Do you remember our elementary school report cards?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember how none of them actually had anything of substance, and it was mostly just, does the child behave?
It was just S for satisfactory.
Yeah. It was like half the child is good at math, the child speaks okay, the child knows what letters are, and then half the child does not bite other child, the child does not murder other child, the child sits when the child is told to sit. I remember those report cards because my report cards were always literally yay and nay. It was good and bad because my academics were always stellar. It was always perfect S's across the board, full satisfactories, and every single category about behavioral issues was always like, it always had ... in place of the letter grade because it was referencing an additional note made at the bottom of, I think my report cards were always like 2-3 pages because they had like a lot to say. Like, this child does not do this, and additionally does not do this, and additionally bit a child, and additionally locked himself in a janitor's closet to get away from a teacher, and additionally ran away from school, and additionally just forever. So it was very funny to look at as like an adult. It was very not funny to have it shoved in my face as a 5-year-old with both of my parents carrying paddles and belts.
Yeah, that does kind of tend to happen when you throw a chair at your teacher. Not saying it wasn't justified, but it does happen.
I mean, I'm not going to say it was justified either. That doesn't mean it wasn't, but I'm not going to say it was.
Well, yeah, naturally, because you are the one who did it. That's not even why, but.
I mean, to be fair, she had no right to dodge it. She was like 45, had a bad hip. There is no reason she actively should have been able to dodge it.
Adrenaline, I guess, but at the same time, why would she get adrenaline from seeing a 4-year-old go to pick up a chair?
I feel like adrenaline would have given her a heart attack, honestly. Like, we're giving her too much credit.
That's also true. But anyway, in lieu of that, I'd say getting thrown through drywall is pretty bad advice.
Would you count that as advice?
It could be.
The only advice I figured I got from that is go away.
If it actually changed your perspective on your behavior, then yeah, I'd say so.
I wouldn't say it quite changed my perspective on my behavior. It changed my perspective for the several seconds after I was thrown, because as I went through the drywall, I tumbled through into a staircase, and then I tumbled down the stairs, so my perspective was going everywhere. I wouldn't say I changed for it. I feel like I probably got a concussion for it, but I don't think I changed.
I mean, I more meant that as something someone does rather than says could still be advice. Because if it actually has an impact on you, then it is technically advice.
So you mean like when my wife left me? That was
Exactly.
advice? What advice was that?
Be a better husband.
Thanks for clearing up that. Thanks for clearing that up, man. I really needed it, like, said. I'm not good at those signs.
Oh, really?
Here's bad advice, speaking of signs. Stop signs. Why? Why should I stop? I've got places to be.
Everyone else has places to be.
Yeah, but my places are more important.
Yeah, sure they are.
Well, consider that one person may be trying to go to the grocery store. I'm trying to go home. That is very much so more important than them eating. And if they really want to go to the grocery store, they can stop and they can wait for my car to fly by 50 miles above the speed limit, followed by 3 police cruisers, and then they can go to the store.
I don't know, man. I feel like feeding a family of 7 is kind of more important than one depressed middle-aged man getting home.
Middle-aged? Well, if I die by my 30s, yeah, I probably am a little bit past middle age. All right, middle-aged depressed man going home. Well, fucking, do you want me to stop?
Yes.
Well, if I stop, the cops will get me.
That's your fault for driving 50 miles over the speed limit.
I gotta get home.
Get home at a reasonable pace.
Reasonable pace is 25 miles per hour in a school zone.
Yes.
That's too slow. If there's no kids in the road, why shouldn't I go at 50?
Well, yes, because if it's outside of school hours, but at the same time, no.
No, not outside school hours. If it's in school hours, the children should be in class.
Yeah, but there are gym classes and outdoor activities.
Yeah, what outdoor activities have children running into the road?
You never know. Maybe they threw a frisbee and it went to the other side of the road, so they have to go and get it.
Okay, PSA, if your child is stupid enough to run into the road to retrieve an item while traffic is on that road, your child deserves to die.
Well, the thing about it is they could look both ways to make sure no cars are coming. Then if you're blazing through at 90 miles an hour, you're going to get there in a flash. So they could look, see absolutely nothing. Then as soon as they walk into the road,
PSA, if you can't hear my car from 5 miles away, you deserve to die.
Says the man with the most silent car in the world.
Well, you should be able to hear it. Just because I'm flying at 90 doesn't mean it's silent.
Sure, but it doesn't mean it's loud.
No, but consider, as long as I know where my lines are for the counties, I know exactly when I'm allowed to speed back up.
Sure. More bad advice.
Do you want me to give more bad advice?
No, I was gonna give more, but brain, no.
Because it seems like I'm very good at giving bad advice.
Yes, you are, actually.
I always thought this was pretty good advice.
Move out of my way, I'm more important than you is not good advice.
It's the best type of advice. It's self-confidence.
That's not self-confidence, that's arrogance.
No, no,
There's a
no, 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 no.
difference.
Self-confidence is like arrogance, but in a good way.
Yeah. Saying I'm more important than you is not a good way. That's being arrogant. Saying I have saying I have a higher status is pretentious, which is also bad. Saying
But it's not in a bad way because I don't mean it. I mean it, but like being arrogant is like me saying that I'm better than you, but like I'm not. I'm being arrogant then. I'm being facetious. But if I genuinely am better than you, then I should have every right to say that. All the same that if I am taller than you, I should have every right to claim that I am taller than you.
sure, but if you say it in an ass way, that's still arrogant.
Well, sure, but I'm not saying it in an ass way. In fact, I'm theoretically driving so fast that no one's going to hear it.
I am more important than you is definitely an ass way.
Well, if you like say it with like a curly font, have your fucking bumper sticker be "I'm more important than you" in pink, and literally everyone will be like, "Yeah, they probably are." But if you say it in like Comic Sans, they are going to join the police cruisers in chasing after me to run me over.
Yeah, but you could also just say, sorry, I've got places to be.
No, because that's so vague that everyone's going to be like, "Oh yeah, sure. I bet you do."
Do a white lie and say, sorry, baby expected.
If there's a baby expecting in my car is going to stop, kick out the expecting baby. I do not want to have my car be the first instance of an expecting baby.
No, it's like you're rushing to the hospital because of the baby.
Oh,
But then you're actually rushing home because, white lie.
I thought you were talking about baby giving birth, an
What?
expecting baby.
No.
And I was like, why would I want that in my car? That fully and completely makes it seem like I am a terrible person off of the bat.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why would I want my car to be the fucking scene for that first instance in history?
I would sure hope you wouldn't want that.
No, that baby's getting punted out of the car at terminal velocity. I'll use my patented baby cannon, which I've disguised as my passenger seat.
Is this also your patented, always self-firing gun?
No. Moving on. I have more bad advice.
Oh, do tell.
When you go to the supermarket, make sure that if someone grabs for something, when you grab for it, you let them have it. That's terrible advice. You were reaching for it, you fight for it. All supermarkets in the back have a dedicated mosh pit where people will fight out who gets what if there is ever a shortage. It's why all the vegan options always stay on the shelves during times of crisis. It's not because the vegan options are bad.
It's because the vegans are so frail that they each throw one punch and they both die, so they can't get the option.
Exactly. And then the surviving vegans are like, I don't want to fight. I'll just like mow my lawn. Sustenance.
Counterpoint, it's good to be nice to people. So if you both reach for the last bottle of Tabasco sauce, let them have it, just because it's a nice thing to do.
Counterpoint, if they knew what I was going to do with that Tabasco sauce, they would let me have it.
Counterpoint, you could tell them.
Counterpoint, if I tell them, I will be immediately arrested.
Counterpoint, that's your problem.
Counterpoint, it's way easier to just yank it out of their hands and run.
Counterpoint, again, being nice to people.
What have people ever done to me?
Nothing. But if you do nice things will come back to you.
Yeah?
Karma, feng shui.
Feng shui is how you decorate a room.
Yes, it's basically the same thing.
Are you telling me the room's gonna haunt me if I fucking don't be nice to people?
Yeah, if you take that bottle of Tabasco sauce out of their hand, you're gonna get home and your bed's gonna be like on the ceiling and your TV's gonna be face planted in the wall.
All of my furniture will be exactly 1 inch to the left. Not anything terrible, not anything obvious, but just out of the way enough and where I'm going to constantly run into the corners of everything.
Exactly.
I feel like that's a haunting issue and not exactly a karmic issue.
If you were nice to that person, then you wouldn't have been haunted.
All right.
Rather than your everything being shifted slightly to the left, it would be that I don't know, your fridge is magically filled.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe you. One time I was good to someone and I got punched in the face. Was that karmic?
Well, that's that person being an ass.
Okay, where's my karmic justice? I didn't get anything after being punched.
You probably did at some point.
Yeah,
It was probably just something that you weren't thinking about because maybe it happened the next day and you had already forgotten about it.
You're right. I got punched the next day, too. You're right. My karmic justice was served.
Well, those two people that punched you did bad karma, so when they got home, I don't know, their toilet exploded.
I'm pretty sure the first person that punched me is doing very well right now. So, I doubt it.
Well, if their toilet explodes, that's just a problem they have to fix. They can still do well after that.
I'm pretty sure they didn't do poorly at any point after the fact. I don't believe in this karma thing. I feel like it doesn't do its job.
It definitely lets people through the cracks, but
Yeah, everyone but me, apparently.
if you try, it'll work.
I don't believe you.
Theory of probability.
No. Just because it's probable doesn't mean that I'm going to just rely on it.
I'm not saying you have to rely on it. I'm just saying if you just do it, then it'll work.
I don't believe in anything that I can't tangibly have exist, like the lottery or Swiss cheese.
Rather than going to the supermarket and saying, I'm going to buy 5 different people's entire orders as a nice thing to do, and I'm going to rely on karma giving me benefits back. You just randomly decide to, say, give someone that bottle of Tabasco sauce. Just a small thing that is meaningless to you, but means a lot to them.
I doubt it means a lot to them. They probably are going to put it back because they're like, ugh, that guy touched it. Would not be the first time.
Sure.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm apparently so terrible at advice that it's just spread karmically to the rest of my body as some kind of aura of absolute distaste.
Well, I don't know about that because there are plenty of times where you have existed and people around you don't not exist because of it. That's a word sentence.
It sure was a sentence made of words. However, next time, maybe put it together in a way that has basic sentence structure. So maybe us morons who don't have as highly advanced a brain as you can put together the words that you have constructed.
There have been plenty of instances where you have done something or said something or been somewhere or grabbed something and put it back, and people don't give a shit, and they still just go on about their day.
Well, yeah, if I trip and fall in San Antonio, no one in fucking Saskatchewan is gonna care.
No one in San Antonio is going to care.
I bet one person in San Antonio will if I tripped and fell and dumped an entire bucket of lard on someone.
Yeah, that person will care because they'll be like, oh, what the fuck? And then probably a couple of people will laugh at you, and probably a couple of people will try and come over and help.
Honestly, with my luck, a couple of people are going to come over and try to beat the shit out of me because they're like, clearly that was your fault.
It could be that too, depending on where you are. Like if you're in Jersey, then yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm not going to win that fight anyways because I've lost my bucket of lard. That's my only weapon.
You still have the bucket.
No, the lard is the weapon. You ever eaten lard?
No.
It's awful. That is a vile weapon.
Yeah, that's
It's
why I've
banned
never
with the
eaten it.
Geneva Convention.
Yeah. Just like white cross on red background, or no, red cross on white background is banned by the Geneva Convention.
They can shove it. You know what? I'll say it. Fuck the Geneva Convention. Bring back some of this stuff.
I mean, I agree, but it's still there, so...
I'd like to see them try me for war crimes. I'd like to see them try.
Oh, they will.
They don't care.
They care.
I will sue the entire Geneva.
If you put your game out there and it has red cross white background and it sells like 10 copies, no, they're not going to come and find you. But if it sells like 50,000, 100,000 plus, gain some popularity, they're going to see it and they're going to be like, hey, hold on, that's not okay. And they're going to tell you, remove the red cross or you will be tried for war crimes.
And I will very calmly and patiently remove their email from my inbox into the delete.
And then they'll track your IP, find your address, and come find you.
They can't prove I ever read their email.
Sure, but also consider if you completely ignore it, they will additionally come find you.
I can just not open my door. What are they going to do? Bomb my house? That's against the Geneva Convention. You think the Geneva Convention capture committee is going to fucking go against the Geneva Convention to capture someone going against the Geneva Convention?
They'd probably get a warrant.
They can't get a warrant. There's no police in my area. I've made sure of it.
Yeah, because they definitely can't bring police from another area.
No, they don't have jurisdiction.
If there's no police there, then there is no jurisdiction. So anyone can jurisdiction.
Well, no, because where are they going to find a cop in the middle of the Atlantic?
That's a cop out.
Well, sure. But they're not. What? Did they just come up with some sort of ocean police?
I mean, yes, actually. That's what the Coast Guard is.
No. Those are the coast police. They don't go that far out.
Yeah, but the Coast Guard is usually who's sent on naval shits.
I'd like to see them try and board my ship.
They could.
Not if there's no room. Say my ship is about the size of a dining room table. I'd like to see them try and board it.
Well, we've already proven from Titanic that a door can fit 2 people on it, so there's no reason a dining room table couldn't.
Well, it could fit 2 people on it. It's not going to be very buoyant if 2 people get in it. It's already going to be like half submerged just from my weight alone. And I am a very light individual. So I'd like to see them try and board.
Sure, but at that point they would, chopper you in.
What? They're just going to, put a helicopter over me and just latch me on and just hope I don't jump out and die on surface tension?
Yeah.
I'd like to see them grab my very surface tension damaged body. I'd like to see them try.
How is this advice?
Well, if the cops start coming after you, run. They don't have a warrant. They never have a warrant.
They could have a warrant.
If they have a warrant, they can tell you all about it in the trial proceedings for you running away from the cops.
For 1, they could have a warrant. For 2, running gives them probable cause, which waives the need for a warrant.
Okay, don't run. Speed walk in the other direction.
That's still fleeing from authority.
No. If anyone, police have body cams at this point in time now. So, if you review the body cam footage and it shows someone, very casually turning around and just walking, that's not fleeing. If it was fleeing, I would be booking it.
It could be still considered fleeing if they see you and you're the person they're looking for, and you just turn around and they say, "Wait, hold on, sir." Which, yeah, sure, it could be misconstrued that they weren't talking to you, but they would pursue you because they're looking for you.
Well, sure. I welcome them to pursue me. I'm not running away. Very clearly. I'm very just clearly walking.
Yeah, but at that point, then they'd still have their warrant.
Well, I would like to see their warrant before they put their cuffs on me.
They would show you it, or at the very least, you would have the right to say, "Show me your warrant first."
Yeah, I have the right to say it. That doesn't mean they have to show it. They could just be like, "Oh yeah, we definitely have it. Sure, definitely." And they just like wave a paper in my face. I'm like, I can't read any of those words. I don't believe you.
Yeah. They do have too much power in that they can just lie about having a warrant. But
I very much so know what a warrant looks like, and I would like to read in full. While I'm waiting, I want my one phone call to my lawyer, who is me. I want to consult myself. Pardon me, I need to consult myself. There's good advice. No one gives better advice than you. Not you. You suck. But you as a human being, yourself, you can give you the best advice. So if you look in the mirror and you're like, damn, my entire life is garbage and I should just, like, stop. That's the best advice you've gotten all day. You should just run with it.
Depression.
Well, sure, but, like, depression gives very good points.
It really doesn't. It makes you think they're good points, but they're really not.
But in that sense, they are very good points.
Technically, yes, but actually, no.
I mean, when they're true, like, if I sit and I go, I look like shit, and I look like I just climbed out of a dumpster, that's not really depression being like, oh yeah, you're terrible. No, I just look like shit.
Yeah, but that's different. It being true makes it different than it not being true. What a revelation.
Well, sure, but, like, you don't have to say it like that. Give me a fighting chance here.
No.
Why not?
Because bad advice.
You couldn't give any worse advice. That's my job.
It sure is, but I'm saying your advice is bad advice, so I'm countering it.
Well, your advice is good advice, which makes it bad.
Uh-huh.
Everyone should always follow the worst possible advice so they know exactly what they're going to get. Because some people can follow good advice and have the best thing happen and nothing happen. Like your fucking karmic grocery store story. Nothing might come of that. And if nothing comes of that, wow, what use that good advice is. But if you take the bad advice and you just yank it out of someone's hands, you have a reasonable expectation of what's going to happen.
Sure, but in that instance, it's either you do the bad option and nothing happens or something bad happens, or you do the good option and either nothing happens or something good happens.
Or you do the bad option and nothing bad happens and everything good happens.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
It's worked before.
1 out of 10 million times that works.
That happens all the time for me.
You're an anomaly.
No.
Yes.
I know at least one other person who's done at least one bad thing and had it turn out good.
Oh yeah, who's that? Yeah, exactly.
No, I know their name. Mr. Robot Man, Tesla.
Elon Musk?
Yeah, that guy. He's terrible.
Yeah, but that's different. He's rich.
Well, yeah, but he's rich because he's terrible.
Yes.
So, bam, you can do bad and get good.
Sure, but...
And everyone fucking loves the guy.
It's a lot better if you do good and get good.
Well, sure, but, like...
Plus, you shouldn't rely on doing bad and getting good. Because people like Elon Musk specifically are so assertive with how bad they are that it turns out good. Whereas it's a lot better to have your lowest possibility be nothing and your highest be something good than it is to have your lowest be something bad and your highest be something good. It's a lot better to just completely remove the bad side of it. Because, yes, you could do something bad and get something good out of it. If you do something good, there's really no chance of anything bad happening because of it. Barring you're getting punched in the face example. It really doesn't happen. If you do a good thing, someone might be an ass and, like, punch you in the face like that. But that's nothing to do with doing a good thing and getting something bad out of it. That's being with a bad person. Which is a completely different circumstance.
I still think being bad is probably the best option here.
Well, you go ahead and do that.
Well, being bad gets me home faster. We've already established that. That's a good thing.
Yeah, but that's not a good thing for literally everyone else on the planet.
What does the guy in Australia hunting kangaroos care that I'm going 90 over the speed limit?
He'll care when you go off-road into the nuclear power plant and cause the entire planet to explode.
America has no nuclear power plants.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, the American populace is too terrified of nuclear energy. Like, all of the nuclear power plants in the world are, like, in Germany. And there's one in France that's technically in Germany's borders because they're like, have a nuclear power plant, and if it explodes, that's your issue.
Well, you know what I mean in that nuclear something. Nuclear warhead storage or anything like that.
Honestly, if I go off-road and I run into a nuclear weapons storage, I feel like that's not my fault. Solely because if you are designing a warehouse for nuclear warheads and you put it close enough that someone going off-road can slam directly into it, like no fences, no guard, no concrete buildings, none of that. Just enough where I can just slam into it and the whole building goes up. I feel like that's probably the fault of the guy who made the warehouse.
Counterpoint, that's the same as saying a woman wearing a revealing dress on a night out is asking to get raped.
I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that like it's necessarily like obvious that it's their fault, but like it's not, because the revealing dress of a woman doesn't make it more reasonable that they should be assaulted. But like the same way, having a warehouse full of dangerous weapons next to a road doesn't make it more like, you know, wanting to be hit. But think on it of like a design perspective, why would you put it there? It's like if you fucking like hang up a picture on a wall and you hammer a nail in and it's right next to a fucking electrical wire, and the guy who tries to take it down, the next owner of the house, gets electrocuted and dies because it's right next to a live wire. That's not because the first guy wanted to kill anyone or was negligent in being a moron, but like you really should have put it in just a better place.
I mean, yeah, I'm not trying to say it makes sense to put a nuclear weapon storage right next to a road, much less with a wall that can be easily broken down by a speeding car. What I am trying to say is, if it did happen to be there, if you are going 90 miles over the speed limit, that is still your fault for crashing into it.
Yeah, it's my fault for crashing into it. But I think that's where my responsibilities end. Because if I were to run into like an inn and run over like 40 people on the bottom floor, yes, that is very much so my fault. I will take full responsibility for 40 counts of homicide, vehicular manslaughter, and I will go to jail probably for 2 days. However, just because it's my fault that I crashed doesn't mean that it's my fault that whatever happened inside the building happened. I do definitely think that if you have very dangerous weapons or material stored right next to a roadway where people could be going as fast as 30 even, say someone falls asleep at the wheel and they're only going like 25 miles an hour, a building right next to the side of the road is going to take substantial damage regardless of 25 or 90 miles per hour. Are they going to destroy the wall? Maybe not. Are they going to knock parts of it off at 25? Absolutely. That wall ain't going to last at 25. So fucking... Because if you just are talking about a normal concrete wall, that car is going to be a really folded car upon impact, and it sure ain't going to go through that wall. But if it's like a wooden wall where my 90-mile-an-hour car could go through it, the same thing's going to happen with a 25-mile-per-hour car. And that's not their fault for going over the speed. They fell asleep, or maybe they died from like a heart attack and are just still driving. But like, I feel like I shouldn't be blamed for nuclear devastation if someone was negligent enough to put nuclear warheads next to a fucking highway or an interstate, even a back road. Like, why are you putting it there? Shouldn't this be on like a fucking facility? Why is a bunch of nuclear warheads in like the equivalent of a shed? Don't you guys have like Area 51 or something for this shit? Don't you have like another 50 areas before that and probably like another 49 areas after that to store this stuff? Why is it in the middle of nowhere where anyone could just fumble upon it?
I mean, this kind of ties back to the fault versus blame thing. You aren't at fault for those nuclear weapons being there for you to run into, but you were the catalyst for them exploding. So while it's not your fault that nuclear devastation happened, you are to blame for it happening in that instance.
I would say it's the people who put the stuffs there thing that they are to blame, because if I were to go off the road without it there, I would just die like a loser. But because they put that there, they have put us in danger, because I'm not the only moron who's driving at 90 miles per hour on back roads. There's a lot of idiots who do that. So literally, if I miss the building by 10 feet, the next idiot's going to come by next week, and it's not going to be me. So yeah, you can say I'm to blame for if I happen to hit it, but couldn't you say that it's more the blame of the guy who thought it was a fun idea to put it on a road where people could very well crash into it? Like, you don't put a school 5 inches from the road. No, there's a driveway and a parking lot. So a drunk idiot isn't going to slam into a fucking classroom without heavy layers of obstacles, such as a whole parking lot and a majority of cars that they could probably run into first.
Yeah, but what I'm more trying to get at is, yeah, it's their fault for putting those nuclear weapons in such a vulnerable position. But it's not 0% your fault for driving at 90 miles an hour. Because saying, if I'm not the one who does it, the next guy will, it's still the same thing. It's still his fault for driving at 90 miles an hour. Like, there is some blame to be placed on you for driving recklessly.
Sure, and I'll take it gladly, as long as the blame is not, I am the reason that the entire world blew up. Because I gotta be honest, I feel like even if I have to share the blame because I was the guy who ran into the warheads, I feel like the guy who put them there is probably the bigger jerk here. Personally, if I put Legos at the bottom of the stairs and my father steps on them and he falls all the way down the stairs and slams his big head through the wall, and now we have a big hole in the wall, I feel like the guy who put the Legos on the stairs is probably much more to blame than my father simply having a head that can go through the wall.
Sure, I'll give you that, but driving recklessly is not good advice.
Maybe not. Well, let's end it there before I give even worse advice.
Yeah, this episode has been all over the place.
What are you talking about? I gave the best advice, and I'm going to give more until you wrap up the episode.
I mean, we're at like 50 minutes, and there's definitely going to be quite a bit cut out of this one. So,
Well, you should probably fucking say something then.
advice is just a hard one because you presenting bad advice as though it's good gives conversation because I can tell you, no, that's not good, and I can tell you why. If I give good advice, that's kind of just like, yeah, that's pretty good advice. There's
All
not
right.
really conversation.
What if, uh, what if I, like, punch myself in the knee 3 times and I say hallelujah, and the first thing that pops in my head is the segue?
My advice for you would be to not do that.
Not taken. Bop, 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 bop the microphone. Hallelujah. Taxidermy. You ever taxidermy?
Yes, I have taxed many dermies.
No, taxidermy.
Yeah. Dermies have been taxed.
This isn't going anywhere. You ever shove things inside creatures?
Yes. I've shoved my hand into a couple of dead squirrels.
We are on different pages. Allow me to skip ahead. Jackalopes. They're fun.
Uh-huh, definitely. Real creature they are.
Did you hear about that one sports game?
Oh yeah, the one with the sports ball, right?
No.
Oh, I guess we could throw in the hot and cold here.
No. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it's kind of advice a little bit.
Dress warmly, dress coldly? No.
Advice for how to combat each of them.
I don't think so. If you've ever had bad advice, pass it along. Give worse advice to someone else.
Do not do that.
If someone once told you that grades are all that matters, go to another child about the age that you were when you were told that and tell them that school is the only thing that matters, so that they may eventually go to another child and say, school doesn't matter and neither does anything else. And eventually you have a group of people that don't care.
That is terrible advice.
It's great advice. If you get bad advice, pass it along. Same way that if you get good advice, pass it along.
If you get good advice, pass it along. If you get bad advice, correct that person on their mistake.
Well, then how does the bad advice get passed along?
It doesn't. It's not supposed to be.
Well, there's no good advice without bad advice. There's got to be balance.
Yeah, but you don't pass along bad advice in the way of follow this advice. You pass it along in the way of, hey, if you ever hear this, it's bad advice. Don't listen to it.
Well, what if it's not that bad?
It doesn't matter. If it's bad advice, don't do it. It could be commit tax fraud or slap your neighbor.
Well, both of those are good in the right circumstances. The right circumstances for tax fraud are yes. All the time. Always commit tax fraud. Give the government nothing. They
You're-
don't deserve it.
You're not wrong in that sense, but don't commit tax fraud because unless you're God, you will get in legal trouble.
They're not gonna know. I'm one out of like 500 million people. Why would they care if I do my taxes?
Because they keep track.
Well, yeah, but like, how many agents does the IRS even have? Like, 60?
Probably hundreds of thousands across the entirety of the country.
There's no way they have hundreds of. That would be like fucking having 0.5% of the entire American population being hired by the fucking IRS.
Yeah, that's an exaggeration, but several thousand, definitely.
And fucking, how many taxable individuals are there in the United States? Of the 500 million, there's probably like 300 million that can be taxed. What? Every one person at this agency needs to cover for like 2 million people? My ass, they're gonna find out that I did anything. They don't have time to fucking go through 2 million people on a case by case basis during tax season. They don't have time to go on about it. They just like pick and choose, like, did this random one do taxes? Did this random one do taxes? Yes, good. I guess everyone did taxes.
I mean, they have automated systems that detect fraud.
Well, maybe they just need to not plug me into their system. If I don't fill out tax forms, they don't know I'm getting money.
Yeah, but pretty much every job requires you to fill out your W-2s.
Well, I won't.
Then you won't have a job.
Well, they won't know.
They will know. They will not let you work until you hand them your filled out W-2s.
Well, I'll fill it out with nonsense. They won't know.
They will know.
How would they know? They don't know my middle name. How would they know if I filled it out right?
Yes. J. Jonah Jameson is definitely so much different than J. Jacob Jameson.
It is when it's a legal name.
It's not legal, though.
That's what I mean. TLDR, commit tax fraud, slap your neighbor, run away from the police.
TLDR, ignore everything he just said. Do not do any of those things. Bake your neighbor a nice pie, if they like pie. Make sure that you, at the very least, don't make it obvious you're running from the police. And only commit tax fraud if you can get away with it, which almost anybody can't, so don't do it.
I wasn't listening. What? Bake your neighbor?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, bake your neighbor, waddle away quickly, but not quickly enough and where it's probable that you're fleeing from the police, and always commit tax fraud.
You got 2 out of 3.
You are untouchable. They can't get you.
You got 2 out of 3.
The IRS can't hurt you. They're not real.
The IRS.
No. It's not. It's no meme. They really just aren't real. They can't hurt you.
Uh-huh.
What are they gonna do? Yell at me? Well, think of it this way. Why would they put me in jail?
Because you did illegal.
Well, if they put me in jail, they're definitely not getting my money.
Yeah, but
So how's that any different than just not letting me fill out my taxes? Seems pretty hypocritical.
because you're not getting your money if you're in jail.
Sure I am.
No.
I
There's
have
a Monopoly
funds.
where you still get money in jail.
You get money while you're in jail in Monopoly?
I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that's a house rule or a base game rule, but it's how I've always known the game. Like Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is a house rule where if you roll Snake Eyes, you get $1,000.
What?
Or free parking cash. That's a house rule.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm gonna go and decide what rules are good. I need to reevaluate.
Well, this concludes our questionable advice segment for That Reminds Me. Thanks for tuning in. We hope to see you next time, even after this absolute shit show dumpster fire. And we'll see you later.
Remember, flee the police, don't do your taxes, bake your neighbor.
Do not do any of those.